Is the Austin housing market party over? Jeremy Knight, the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Look, there are some things that are coming out in the news that we absolutely have to talk about the Austin housing market. Also, the numbers for December, the end of the year, came out showing that we are down 4% year over year. There's some really important information that we have to look at when we look at this because a lot of people are assuming that the market is going to crash. And I actually have some information to show you what's happening. Unfortunately, what happens is we look at year over year data versus looking at the month over month data, so it can get skewed. And most people and most agencies, when they report this, don't really explain this. So we're going to talk about that. Also, drop a comment below. What do you think is going to happen in the housing market in the Austin area? That includes like Pflugerville, Round Rock, all of the areas around Austin. What do you think is going to happen going into 2023? Let's get into it right now. Okay, so the housing numbers just came out and we are officially down 4% year over year in the Austin area. Now, here's the chart showing kind of where we've been. At the end of the year, we ended at 525 in the Austin area. And if you compare that to 2021, we ended the year at 555. So that is a negative 4% drop in the Austin area. Now, you can say, Jeremy, you were wrong because I said that we would probably see not as crazy of a year in 2022. I said we'd be around 6%, 9, maybe 12% at the high, and I'm wrong. So there you go. I've said it. I was absolutely wrong. We were down 4%. What's really interesting, though, if we look at the month over month numbers, our high for this last year was around May at 667. And if we actually look at the chart here, every year we see a high around May, June, July. And what's really interesting is that we saw a high in May of 667. It dropped way down to 615 and then back up to 633. Ending the year at down 4%. Well, if you look at these numbers month over month, is some interesting things. So what you're going to start to see in the next few months is the market's actually going to show it's crashing further and further, but we actually kind of crashed around August if you're looking at the month over month data. And this is where people are going to get confused over the next few months because now these new agencies are going to start getting the year over year data, and then when they report it, just like ABOR is reporting it to the Austin Board of Realtors, now they're starting to show, oh, the market's dropping, but it kind of already dropped. So let's look at the numbers for 2021 versus 2022 on my chart here. You know, in 2021, we started at 455 and got all the way up to 575. So this year, we would have to get, to even beat the 2021 numbers, we're going to have to get back over 575. To get anywhere close to beating the 2022 numbers, we're going to have to get to over 667 by May. Do you think that we're prices right now going from 525 over this next year are actually going to get to 667 in the Austin area? Drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say there's really no way that I'm seeing that prices are going to jump up from 525, almost what, 150 grand or something like that? Yeah, almost 150 grand. That's a huge jump to actually get there. And that's the problem when we have reporting of year over year data. Because here's what's pretty interesting. If we actually look at the numbers for December, it actually shows that closed sales were down 47% compared to 2021. They also show that new listings are down 24% from year over year. They're also showing that active listings are up 227%. That's pretty interesting. What's interesting, if you look year over year, that's actually true. But if we look month over month from November, December, it shows a different story. Here is the November numbers. Let's look at this. We actually had 529 closed in November versus almost 600 closed, and this is just Austin. So it's showing you that we actually had an increase in closings from November to December. If you actually look at the new listings actually dropped. We went from 685 new listings in November to only 488 posted in December. So we actually saw a reduction in inventory. Now, buyers and sellers, this is really important for you to listen to because the inventory aspect in 2023 is going to be a big issue for how you price your homes. So you better be paying attention to this. And buyers, are you still buying right now? Drop a comment below. If you've been thinking about buying, drop a comment below because here's the thing. Interest rates are something that's going to impact 2023. Interest rates right now have come down to, if you're looking at just the 30-year fixed, they got back down to around 6%, now about 6.15, as of last week. So, but that's coming from a high of like 7.37%. So interest rates are coming down. Now, there's things happening with the Fed still and with inflation. That looks like it's been dropping. Will it continue to drop? There's a lot of things in the market. But one thing I'm going to talk about when it comes compared to the Austin market, I think is going to be interesting. Now, there's some things in the Austin market that are getting a little scary, kind of, if you're going to look at it this way. Unemployment rate right now is 2.6%. Every day in the news, another company is talking about more layoffs. So Google just announced that they're going to be laying off some of their staff. That we don't know how much that's going to be in the Austin area. I made a story the other day about more layoffs. In fact, last week about Ryder letting go of 800 people. Now, there's a lot of other positions that have been announced since I've made that video. So that are some things that might impact the housing market this year. But if we go back to the numbers, like I was talking about, I made a chart and I really wanted to explain this to you as far as like, is the housing market crashing? Has it already crashed? Let's say that prices this year stay flat at 525 the rest of the year, right? Let's just make a hypothetical. Now, a lot of you are saying that the prices are going to still come down, and we are going to start seeing a lot of negative numbers. And so sellers, you need to pay attention to this, and buyers, you need to pay attention to this, because sellers, how you're pricing your home in 2022 matters based on this information right here. So let's say we're at 525 at ending the year, and let's just say magically we stayed 525 the rest of the year. Here's where things start getting interesting. In January, if we stayed the same, we're going to see negative 4.5%. And if we look at February, we would actually see a negative 7% because prices went to 565. And then same thing in March, if they stay flat at 525, then we're going to be down 15%. And then we're going to be down 21%. And then we're going to see a huge drop down to 14.6 and then back up to 17 and then 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. And if we ended next year at 525, we're going to be flat at the end of the year. So do you understand what I'm saying here? Is that when you get the information from the media, when it comes out that, prices have dropped, this is awful. Well, prices really did kind of crash last year. If you want to use that term, crash was actually last year, because we saw a big reduction from 667 at the peak all the way down to 555 and then ending the year at 525. I want to hear from you. Look, I see all these predictions coming out about what's going to happen in the market. Even if you look at last year at the beginning of the year, like Redfin, Zillow, all of those places were coming out saying we're going to see 17% at the end of the year. Nope, we saw negative year over year at the end of the year. So if we start to see a trend, if we go back to our normal trends where prices start to kind of pick up till June and then drop a little bit in July and August and stay flat, like this is the 2019 numbers, or if we look at the 2021 numbers where it kind of comes up, we might not see that negative 17, 21% going into June and July, yet we'll still see negative numbers for most of next year going into about maybe August, September, and we might end the year positive, but it's not going to be a massive positive number. What do you think? How far off am I on that? Now, I've talked about some of the things that might affect Austin. This is one thing that might really impact Texas in the market happening next year. And it's this article right here. And this is really, really important information here. So really pay attention to this, because if this doesn't get fixed in the next legislative meetings, this could really impact the Texas market. And if you want me to do a full video on this, let me know. But Texas could be in trouble because they're getting rid of the 313 tax incentives. So here's what happens when a big company wants to come to Texas, right? So the biggest tax burden that us homeowners or anyone has is the school taxes. They're the biggest chunk of the actual taxes. And in Austin, we have recapture, so that goes back to the state. Don't even get me started about the schools. Drop a comment if you're frustrated with the property taxes in schools, because I don't see school ratings getting that much better, and yet that's a majority of what our taxes go to. And we have the highest property taxes in the country here in Austin. But here's what's happening. They are removing the 313 taxes starting this year. So big companies, when they come, look at like Micron. Micron was coming to the area and they couldn't get enough tax incentives. So with the 313, it took off a majority of the taxes, which actually dropped the tax burden for these companies coming here by 40%. And that was luring some of these big tech companies that were coming here. And so removing that may potentially stop big companies from coming to the Austin area, from coming to Texas in general, which means all of these jobs that we've been waiting for might stop coming here. And with the announcement of all these layoffs, it could potentially hurt the housing market here in Texas and here in Austin. And if you want me to do a full video on what this actually means, I can. The long and short of this being removed means that companies will absolutely pass over Texas to go to other states that are going to be more tax friendly. So we won't be that tax friendly business city and state moving forward. So Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite Austin realtor. What do you think? Drop a comment below, and I got some good videos right here. So we'll see you in the next one.